listener production.
Hi, Sacha Barbour Gatt with you. Welcome to The Briefing. Facebook, or Meta, has undergone a pretty big transformation. What was once the darling of the social media landscape has become littered with boomers, misinformation, and weird AI-generated images of Jesus and soldiers.
Once the loop's closed and it's AIs reacting to AIs, then humans are going to get bored with it and we're going to drop off these platforms.
In the second half of this episode, we are talking about the strange AI images that have taken over Facebook and how they play into the dead internet theory. First, though, let's get into the headlines with Bension Sievert. It's Monday, the 29th of July.
Morning, Sasha. Australia's flag bearer, Jess Fox, has won gold in the women's kayak slalom singles, delivering our fourth gold medal at the Paris Olympics. The 30-year-old had a tumultuous start to the Games, hitting the fastest time in the semi-final, then dropping down to 8th before taking out the gold with a cool 96-second run for the 200-metre course. Here's Fox speaking after the race.
I've been crying for the last half an hour. I think I was crying of stress and nerves sitting there, and then I was crying of pure joy and emotion.
Isn't it good to hear? That audio courtesy of 9.
So good to hear, Bension. We love to see not only an Aussie winning, but Jess Fox. She had, came into this wanting a massive Games. She's the flag bearer, and sure enough, she's got it with her first gold. But it is her fourth in the kayak event, her fourth medal. It is her second gold in this event, and she will be back in the water for the canoe and the kayak cross, so it's not over for Jess Fox yet. Israel has launched strikes against Hezbollah targets in Lebanon in apparent retaliation for a rocket strike on a football field which killed 12 people, including children. The attack, which happened in the Israeli-occupied Syrian border town of Golan Heights, has sparked fears of a larger conflict in the region. Hezbollah has denied responsibility for the strike on the football field, but both sides have been keeping up an almost daily exchange of rocket fire since October 7. And that's because Hezbollah, a Hamas ally, says its attacks aim to support Palestinians who are under Israeli bombardment in Gaza. Bension.
Yeah, and there's been a frantic diplomatic effort from the US behind the scenes trying to talk Israel and Hezbollah into not escalating. So far that seems to have been successful, but obviously one to keep on watching. Prime Minister Anthony Albanese has appointed a new Minister for Housing and replaced his Immigration and Home Affairs ministers. The government is gearing up for the next election, expected in the first half of next year, where housing and immigration are likely to be pretty key issues for voters. Claire O'Neill has been given housing. Now, she has a pretty tough task of convincing Australians struggling with rising rents and mortgage interest payments that the government is doing all that it can on the issue.
Absolutely. And look, Tony Burke has been named to take on this super portfolio that'll now include immigration and home affairs. The reshuffle was all prompted by the retirement of Minister for Indigenous Affairs Linda Burney. That ministry is going to Mullindiri McCarthy, while the Minister for Skills and Training, Brendan O'Connor, also announced he wouldn't be recontesting the next election. He's being replaced by Andrew Giles. Now, the interesting thing with all of this, Bension, is you kind of touched on it there in terms of housing, but the immigration and home affairs portfolios have been having a lot of problems in the last couple of years, and it looks like it's kind of an attempt to clean up the image and clean up the portfolios, right?
Absolutely. Well, Tony Burke is known to have a very sort of affable, nice guy public persona. It'll be interesting to see whether that continues with these portfolios. The government has lost serious political ground on immigration since that High Court ruling last year. You might remember they found indefinite detention unlawful and forced the government to release more than 100 detainees into the community, some of whom had committed very serious crimes. Anthony Albanese is also appointing Tony Burke, I think, because he would trust him to land blows on Peter Dutton in Parliament. He's a very good Parliament performer. And let's return to our top story. There are celebrations for Aussie flag bearer Jess Fox, but there's plenty more to get excited about for the Aussies. Right now, we're sitting on top of the medal tally after a stunning weekend in the water and Grace Brown's gold in the road cycling. Australia has 4 gold medals and 2 silver so far. This morning, spoiler alert, the Matildas have kept their hopes alive after a thrilling 6-5 win over Zambia. And here's the moment where they went one up.
It's alive through the middle. Michelle Heyman. Oh, she's done it! The Matildas! 6-5 in a crazy night in Nice.
That audio thanks to Nine.
Yeah, what a moment. Watching that live was pretty funny. The commentator's voice breaking as he screams. So the Matildas play the USA next. That's happening Thursday morning very early. We have to win in order to have any chance of advancing through. So hopes are alive for the Matildas. Look, also celebrations for the women in the rugby sevens. They've started strong with wins over South Africa and Great Britain. And there are a bunch of finals in the pools again. Now, at the time of recording, they hadn't started or they're about to get started. But, I mean, anytime the Aussies are in the pool in a final, you can expect a medal, which is super exciting. Hey, speaking of water, the River Seine, which has been the subject of a lot of problems in the lead up to these games. They said it was going to be clean and ready to swim in. They had a marathon that they wanted to swim in there, I think part of the triathlon as well. Well, they have had to cancel a swim training for the Olympic triathletes because rain over the weekend, which we saw during the opening ceremony, has made it all dirty and gross again. So there are questions about whether they're actually going to be able to run those events. This was only training. So the events are supposed to take place throughout this coming week. The men's triathlon's Tuesday, the women are the following day. So, and also the mixed team relay, which is going to be on the Seine, is set for August 5. So there's still hopes that they'll be able to stage those events there. But once again, yeah. The Seine just not playing ball, unfortunately, for Paris for the Olympics. Hey, did you watch anything awesome over the weekend, Bension? I was watching the skateboarding last night. Chloe Cavell, who's only 14, was doing amazing. I was really enjoying that. I've never watched Olympic skateboarding before, or really any skateboarding. So that's why I love the Olympics. You find a sport, you've never watched it before, and all of a sudden you're hooked.
Yeah, absolutely. It is very annoying to see such extremely young people doing such high extreme achievements. I did catch some of the gymnastics. There was, of course, the greatest gymnast of all time, Simone Biles, over the weekend. She finished her subdivision with a score of 59.566, which is the biggest international all-round score of the Olympic quad. And there is not a soul in the world who can beat that woman at gymnastics. It's just incredible.
Absolutely. She is amazing. Love seeing her at yet another Olympics. Bension, thanks so much for joining us for the headlines today. Next up, we're getting into our deep dive, looking at those weird images that have been popping up all over Facebook and how it could be a signal that the internet is dying. I know I said at the top of the show that Facebook is lame and full of boomers now, but I will admit I am actually a regular user of it. Not to post or keep up with friends. It's mainly to get recipes from a couple of cooking pages that I follow. I might also lurk on fights in my local community group. All of this is to say, I've noticed its evolution over the last few years, but something weird has been happening lately. I've started to get posts in my feed from pages I don't follow and have never engaged with of AI-made photos. Perhaps the most infamous image is Shrimp Jesus, showing an effigy of the Christian Messiah underwater and partly made out of prawns. It is truly bizarre, but the post has huge engagement with thousands of comments of amen written underneath. This isn't the only one. There's the old lady in front of a cake with a caption asking for birthday wishes, sand sculptures of puppies, and a lot of imagery around American soldiers. This content is being made with and posted by AI agents on the hunt for clicks, likes, comments and shares. And it's a symptom of what's being called the dead internet theory. Essentially, that the internet is being taken over by bots who are making, posting and engaging with content more than humans are. So does this mean we are slowly seeing the death of the internet in real time? Joining me now to talk about it is Joel Pearson from Future Minds Lab at UNSW. Joel, welcome to the briefing. Why am I seeing AI images of Jesus underwater, old ladies in front of birthday cakes and soldiers carved out of sand on my Facebook feed?
Well, you're not hallucinating it, Sash. It's all happening. It's all there. So all the AI tools are so easy to use now that soon as anything looks like it's going to be a trend, people jump on board and they can just proliferate tons of media. So we're seeing these still images everywhere on the internet, on Twitter, on Facebook at the moment, and it's going to start merging into video. So we're going to see these fake videos or these synthetic media, deep fakes, whatever you want to call it. We're going to just see tons and tons of unreal, not real media flooding the internet. And then you're going to see other AIs, as we're already seeing, commenting on that, as we're seeing with the Jesus and things like that. So we're going to have an AI producing stuff and another AI bot reacting to it and trying to mimic human reactions, and they're not doing a great job of it yet. But yeah, these tools are just getting cheaper and cheaper and faster. And so every month, I think we're just going to see this ratcheting up and up and up the next few years.
So my question then is because AI has to be like, as far as I'm aware, and I'm not a tech head by any means, but as far as I understand, AI has to be programmed or told to do something by a human being, right? So who started this? Who is telling the AI to create this content?
Yeah, that's true to a certain degree. So I need to tell ChatGPT to make me 5 different versions of this image or the Jesus thing but the choices in how it makes that and the way it makes that pleasing for humans to look at, that all happens behind the scenes. And so at the moment, yeah, it's the way that AI is being used by humans to make this content. And I guess the next evolution is when AI can do that itself. So when AI picks up on a trend and then it starts making the images by itself. So we're not at that stage yet. So these things mostly aren't free running on the internet. But that'll probably, these models are open access. You can do this at home now. So that's not far off on the horizon, where the whole thing will just be driven by AI and close that loop, right? You've got one AI creating a meme and other AIs reacting to the meme, and you don't need humans in the loop anymore.
And we'll talk about that in a minute around the dead internet theory. But who is actually benefiting right now from the creation, posting and engagement of these fake images?
Well, I think at the moment, while humans are, drawn in and pulled in and it's driving the revenue of these platforms like Facebook or X up. But I think that's only a short-term thing, right? Once the loop's closed and it's AIs reacting to AIs, then humans are going to get bored with it, and we're going to, drop off these platforms. They're going to see their revenue go down. So at the moment, they're benefiting, and of course, the AI companies are benefiting because more and more people are using those tools. But I think as time goes on, that'll start shifting, and you'll see less eyeballs on the platform. So the advertising won't be as effective, and their revenues will go down. So yeah, that's going to shift.
So the dead internet theory, which I touched on in the intro, but the idea is that, the internet will no longer be a place for humans in the future, and it's going to be AI creating stuff, bots commenting on it that is driven by AI. We know now that more than half of what we're seeing on the internet from users is actually from bots. So does that mean the dead internet theory is true?
I think it is. Yeah. Let me unpack a little bit. So I think this is one of the first sort of signs or symptoms of this. So yeah, I think, this year it's about 50%. It depends how you measure that. Say 50% of some of the interactions, particularly on social media, are bot-driven. And you heard Elon Musk talk about when when him and his partners bought Twitter and turned it into X, they were complaining about the bots, but that's only increased as far as I'm aware. So that's going to keep on increasing. But where I think is going to happen, and is already happening, is people are going to start using their AIs for search. So what do we use the internet for? We use it for streaming media, for social interaction, and for getting information. So that getting information part of it is already changing. You can now just ask an AI, ChatGPT, for example, or Microsoft's AI for the information. It'll go out and find it for you. And that's still a bit clunky, but by the end of the year and early next year, that's going to be smooth. So I don't need to go and search and look through a screen and look at a browser and page after page. If I want to know something, I just ask my AI, right? And soon we're going to have personal AI assistants that will just do that for us. They're going to have access to all the information, and they're going to have that delivered to us whenever we need it. So we don't need to search anymore. Likewise, the AI is going to have access to all the media, whether they use legacy media or they're just creating, their synthetic on the fly bespoke media for us, right? Hey, tonight I feel like a James Bond style film, but give it to me with Brad Pitt and this person. And the legal thing will all be worked out with the licensing for the actors' faces. and my AI will just make me a new film. So you can think of that like searching and media, and then probably socialization. Those three things will move into sort of through an AI instead of browsers. So the internet will kind of be dead, or is dead for humans, but it'll still be flourishing with tons of back and forth between AIs and AI systems. But yeah, I don't think humans will need the internet the way we use it now. So the old sort of legacy internet, I think, is dying. It's got a terminal illness, if you like, and it's on its way out. So it's going to be like in the movie Her, right, where Scarlett Johansson is playing the AI operating system and friend and assistant, where at the end of the movie, she just sort of switches off and goes online to just talk rapidly with other AIs. I think that's where we're heading. And so I'll just talk to Jarvis or whatever my AI bot friend personal assistant is, and that is the way I'll access the internet. I don't need to access it in the way we think about it now.
Wow. What you've just explained with us moving away from the internet and moving more to AI bots and assistants and things like that. My question around the internet then is, people talk all the time, there's the joke that robots are taking over the world and that we're all going to become victims of AI. That's that in practice, isn't it? It's creating its own ecosystem, I suppose, and will exist only with other AI actors or agents. So is this evidence then of AI being able to show how it can take over something, which is what our fear comes from? Does that make sense? Like, is this fear coming true then?
Yeah, I mean, it is. I mean, you can think about it. So from one point of view, it sounds a little bit scary because there's so much uncertainty of what's going to happen. I want the internet, but the way it'll actually unfold is that these AIs will just make it so much easier. It'll be like me talking to you. It'll just be conversational. If I want to see images or video, I can just pick any screen. It'll show me the images or my glasses. So people trade off the internet for just efficiency and ease, like they do with Google Maps, right? People don't read the fine print and the privacy issues anymore with these things. You get so much more benefit, right? And it's true that the saying, if you get it for, if the thing's free, it's not a product, you're the product for advertising. So there's a couple of complications there, but I think the AI revolution is well underway, and everything we're talking about today is basically inevitable now. Even if the tech breakthroughs with AI stopped right now, most of this is still going to happen with the models we have. So it is a little bit scary. It's a stark new world. And I advise people from the mental health, from the psychological point, to try and use AI as much as possible and start to feel comfortable with interacting with AIs and seeing how they can use it in all aspects of their life. And they might be surprised, right? Not to shy away and, move out to the country and switch off electricity, because I don't think that's a practical solution, even though it's, tempting for lots of people I talk to. But it's coming. We've got an interesting decade ahead of us. And I think we need to focus on the human side of it, less on the tech, less talking to tech CEOs, and think of this as a giant change management program for each person at home, each organization, and each nation and government. And we're going to see everything change that basically uses electricity over the next decade. And so we need to be ready for that change. We need to start thinking about the psychological tools, the readiness, how we can safeguard our mental health through these interesting times.
Well, my next question was going to be, should we be worried about it? But from the sounds of it, we just need to adapt. As we learnt to adapt to the internet and social media and the way that became a part of our lives, whether we liked it or not, that's what happened. That's the same advice, I'm guessing, from you when it comes to learning to live with AI in this uncertain and new world.
Absolutely. And it is very scary for most people. And I think of it as a spectrum, right? AI can be utopian and it's going to be amazing. It's going to change our lives. It's going to cure cancers. It's going to solve climate change. It's going to do amazing things, right? But even in that utopian scenario, maybe our jobs change, schools change, universities. Do we still need universities? How does the economy change? That's a massive amount of change, right? And there's going to be a lot more than that. So perfect scenario, utopian scenario, we're going to need a ton of change management around that to help us through. Then on the other end of the spectrum, there's all these specific cases we've touched on with deep fake media. We know that deep fakes influence us in ways well beyond telling someone it's a fake, right? It's not like you tell someone it's fake and they're like, oh, great, no problem. The stuff we've seen, unlike, when you dream during the night, you forget your dreams. When you see deep fake media, that stays with you almost forever. And we don't understand how to undo that psychologically yet. That's a psychology problem, right? A science problem. In specific ways, I think AI will go bad or be used by humans in very negative ways. And we need to start thinking about how to adapt. And it's not really a cybersecurity problem for lots of these. Some of them will be for scams, but a lot of it is mental health, psychology side. And that's where we need to take action. The government needs to step in. We need to have a minister in charge of all this. We need to change management plan and education plan for all Australians.
Wow. Yeah, Joel, what a fascinating conversation. And as we have found, we often end up playing catch up with this with new technology that comes around and governments are chasing their tails. So I suppose your advice should be heeded, is that we need to do stuff now. Thank you so much for talking to us. Much appreciated.
My pleasure. I hope it wasn't too scary for everyone listening.
That was Joel Pearson from Future Minds Lab at UNSW talking to me there. And that is it for this episode of The Briefing, but we will be back this afternoon from 3. Before you go, we would love it if you could share this ep with someone you think might enjoy it. And if you want to keep up with our other content, we are on Instagram at The Briefing Podcast. We're also on TikTok and YouTube. Search Listener Newsroom. I'm Sacha Barbour Gatt. See you next time.
Listener.